So we all know the one of many when it comes to CM Punk's political views. Well, at least when it comes to Saudi Arabia. And now it's coming out that CM Punk replaced by Seth Rollins in WWE United Champions promo. And according to this news article by Ringside News, the latest version of Night of Champions ad, which of course had aired during last WWE's PLE of Backlash, now feature Rollins in the spot that was apparently being shown. CM Punk was in it, but now a significant change has fans speculating about what's really going on behind the scenes. And Punk's potential involvement in the Saudi Arabia event has been a hot topic in recent weeks, especially given his outspoken criticism of WWE's controversial shows in the country, which is strange because now, allegedly, in the new version of the Night of Champions ad, CM Punk is no longer there, and it's now Seth Rollins that takes his place.
You hate coming to Saudi. I've never been to Saudi. I don't hate coming to Saudi.
So we're back to our Philly Phil, good old counterfeit Phil. Oh man, everybody's favorite Chicago son. The prodigal son returns with these commendable takes, at least when it comes to his politics. I mean, and don't worry, I'll try very, very hard not to be breathing and sucking hard. When it comes to me, so like, of course, talking to the mic, and when it comes to my breathing up levels. But okay, back to CM Punk and all this Saudi Arabia nonsense. So I don't know if y'all understand, but I've always had that expression, especially from my elders. I've always heard of and kept one of the oldest sayings of expressions. Never meet your heroes. And I definitely feel like as I continue to get more, I guess, because I don't like to say because I feel like everybody likes to, especially using that word when it comes to wiser and stuff. Not to say you can still use it, and as in the right way, of course. But I want to more so say as I continue to be more so aware of my surroundings, and I get more in tune, I get more knowledge and more understanding about humanity, especially when it comes to not just the psyche, but just because of course, like all of us, we all have ego. I mean, everybody has an ego. Everybody likes to think big of themselves, and possibly better than than one or the other. And I definitely was, because I think I said it in the past too, that of course, I mean, I've always I guess at that point, I feel like I definitely have felt that CM Punk was one of my heroes, and especially just a real life, whether it's Marvel or DC, I always felt like he could be or I guess if y'all never had read the comic more so, to be more accurate other than Marvel or DC, but he can be more comparable to Rorschach, that was a character. Yeah, y'all probably know some of y'all probably know what I'm talking about when I bring that up. The Watchmen and that whole universe, that whole comic book character, everything right there in Rorschach. I like to compare him to him, and I feel like, especially mainly when it came to him about being against the WWE machine and Vince McMahon, and him and genre wrestlers, at that point was still being held back before then, to what we know now, and I said I definitely looked at towards Punk as some sort of martyr. And savior, and that sort of sense. And and when you get to today, it's especially too with him coming to AEW and him being much more taking a stance, taking a sort of him taking a sort of stance to where, of course, you had to think, of course, when I feel like it was Trump's when Trump was first trying to get I feel like the first time, but he remember that whole campaign, and he had lost to Biden, And I feel like that was because he was still with WWE, of course. When I just showed y'all there, because I feel like he was still doing a little bit of stuff with WWE, but he wouldn't really. We still wasn't there yet. I feel like there was still, because yeah, Vince was still running WWE, and of course they still had problems between him and Vince, Punk and Vince. So he wasn't really. So he was doing, of course, the whole backstage with the WWE. It was like kind of ESPN, like First Take, like the corny ass sports channels with Stephen A. and Skip Bayless and shit like that with the NBA. Yeah, that was like kind of like what it was where WWE was doing this thing to where it was like WWE backstage or something like that, and you had like him come on. This was back in 2020, and he was like saying every time they think they have the answers, I change the culture. And then think that they were going to do like a weekly thing of that, and I think that didn't work out. You had him beef to where it's like where he was kind of like having beef with the Miz, and he had, remember the whole infamous thing about he told the Miz, go suck a blood muddy, go suck a blood soaked muddy dick covered in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, exactly what he said. Oh, stop. Let's see. Yeah, that's what he had said to Miz. And it's like, yeah, go suck a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia, you fucking dork. And yeah, of course that whole thing worked out, and then of course, him coming to AEW, and I feel like that was I feel like that was the first time you really saw his politics, I guess, because that we were reaching a point also too. I feel like also it's like a whole conjunction of things to where too, because we're at a point now to where, of course, where you have, of course, where politics are dominating, Western, if not more so, they're the Western hemisphere, and entertainment, is more so. Like I said, it's much more robbed, and it's much more dominated. But I guess you can call people were more it's been dominated by a certain group of people, and people like to call that leftist ideology, and we know how it worked there, whether it comes to the LGBTQ and the feminist crap and shit like that. And because we're in a scope now, and of course professional wrestling, because seeing that when it comes to professional wrestling history, and especially WWE, considering their history, to where now it's like where WWE is pandering in current day, they're pandering to all these groups now. And of course, when you get to fast forward, I feel like that was the first lick of CM Punk's politics as to where we got. And then when you get to him in AEW, and this is where I really started to, Phil Brooks, the person is a piece of shit. And him, the whole thing with him, very very like getting on his knees and pandering as fuck. And we of course with the AEW, and just want to know where they're just a nothing of just they virtue signal galore. Whether it's the boss, the wrestlers, the company itself, it's just, it's ridiculous. And where you got to where Punk had, of course, the whole thing, the campaign where, because like I said, at this point in time, you had, of course, like people was even coming at shit, was giving Kane shit too, like, of course, with WWE, where he was like, because he's mayor now and much more involved into that world of politics and his stance on Trump and everything like that. And abortion, and that's when you had Roe v. Wade happen, and Punk was coming out to these fake ass. It was like this laughable when he would come in his entrances, and he would say abortion rights is human rights, and he said, of course, her body, her choice. I feel like, so when it comes to like Punk's character now, I feel like, and also let me mention too, because it was like I feel like that was after that whole thing, because of course you had all that, and after the whole brawl out thing happened, which is now infamously known now, where we kind of came back in 2023 when of course he was gonna have his whole thing with AEW Collision, and of course as we all know that didn't work out. But there was like after an episode of Collision that went off the air, you can still find the pictures. Of course, you can still find the pictures now, where he held up this sign, and it was like the trans gal, and that's about kids. I feel like that's where, because that's what, if I can say right there, and I like, as I've like we'll say right now, like, I've never had the problem with the gay community, and I even had like friends. I've even had like probably even still talk to people that when it comes to their sexuality, of course, whether it is identified in whatever the fuck LGBTQ, who cares? And I think of course, but as I can say it right now, I don't give a fuck where you stick your dick, or where your clit rubs up against. I don't give a fuck. I feel like, yeah, my problem has always been that, especially towards now, I feel like where I have the problem with the LGBTQ mainly is where, yeah, like so I feel like this new version, or this today's generation, where they like to force the ideology down people's throats, and not when it comes to entertainment and everywhere else, but it's just also the whole describing to where they come after the children, and it just and that is where right there is where you get me. That right there is when I become really sick and really start to almost it turns into like, all right, because now y'all stepping over the fucking line, and now it's getting it's turning real personal. This is getting wrong, and what you're doing is really sick and inhumane, and it needs to be stopped upon. Like, what you're doing right there, that's is just unacceptable. And that's the where one of the major reasons I had to where, yeah, like, Punk is a piece of shit, and he's like, where I thought before, he's not the man that he says he is. Oh, he's just a fraud. And I feel like he's always been that way. CM Punk has always been a huge fucking fraud. And you get to where, of course, like I said, we can even fast forward to now, to where he's back in WWE, and of course they'll stand to, like I said, I feel like to where now, because like I said, I feel like, because you also have to where guys, especially like, if not CM Punk in general, has inspired a generation to where these like wrestlers nowadays too, and I go on this on a daily basis of how professional wrestlers today, they're pussy. They're soft, creamy, semen soft, babies. They're a bunch of bitches. I mean, they all day on social media crying about this and that. And I feel like definitely CM Punk is more so even like was probably the catalyst for that. It, inspired a generation to where we have now. I feel like he was more so he's the first to where it's like, yeah, the original crybaby. Before there was Cody Rhodes, there was CM Punk. I mean, that's why we always refer back to the pipe bomb promo, to where, yeah, Punk is the originator of this shit. And yeah, like, it just, and of course now you get to where this whole drama now, and like, apparently where he is, apparently yeah, I mean, of course now, so of course where he said that at a point in time where he wasn't probably going to go back to WWE, and I understand, of course, maybe have unacceptable with the people, or he doesn't really come across to with the people in charge, who doesn't really agree or like the people in charge, like a Vince McMahon. But still, I mean, it's still somewhat hypocritical in that regard. And I don't know, but like, yeah, it's just, of course, man, it's just like, so where you like just, of course, featured on ads, and like, come on. And of course, like I showed y'all in that clip. I mean, of course, what people were talking about when he was in that live, or whatever he did, that IG live, like, what people are talking about. And it's like I said, not only that, it's just more so, it's just after this and after that, it's like, as time goes on, we look at Punk for the hypocritical bastard that he is, and he's no better than a guy like Triple H, and what Shawn Michaels used to be, or like an Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, or like all these guys. Like, Punk is no better. He's not, because you have this that, like, to where it's like, well, now to where years ago you had this somewhat, or you want any you had this some type of high on the horse stance about Saudi Arabia and how we feel, because of course, well, we all know probably like the same situation of Ukraine and Russia and of course Israel and Palestine. Kind of like I guess the same kind is still going on to this day, a conflict that was between Yemen and Saudi Arabia, that they have their own little war. I feel like that's pretty for a while too when it comes to that in Saudi Arabia, and definitely that's rocked people a certain way, especially like people like even wrestlers that's in the business like a Sami Zayn. I feel like it's probably like he's been somewhat hypocritical too in some stance. Because hasn't he been featured around Saudi Arabia or something like that? And I mean, it's not like he is I don't know, when it comes to the stuff he be doing, and I don't know as far as when it comes to helping out his own community. But I just feel like a lot, like, come on, like, you just look at yourself and like these, like, you catch them in one, and then you catch them in a lie, and it's just like they're hypocrites, and CM Punk is no exception. And it's like, to where you have now, to what he said about Saudi Arabia, to where, like, of course you're back in WWE, you're taking the big paychecks, and it's all about the money. He even said it himself. Like, even like a foreshadowing hilarious type of clip to where, yeah, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money. When he first came back, like come on, bro. And not necessarily that's a bad thing, but it's like, be fucking honest with yourself. And I feel like, CM Punk has definitely put himself in a light to where he's just been the biggest of phonies. Absolutely. And, he can make it, like, he can pretend, he can put himself into it, like, that, to this, especially to this IW, because he does that a lot, too. He wants to be seen as this, he wants to show that he's not, absolutely not to, and he wants to has this character, still have this, this type of character to the IWC of a generation today, that he is what they want him to be, and he's not that. Because you look at we can even dig up when it comes to his controversy with women. You can probably definitely for sure, because there's even a clip of him calling a fan a homo. Like, he's fake. Like, this dude is fucking fake, bro. And it's like I said, just the trans kids things is even one of more so things that I just absolutely hate about him now. It's another reason I just don't like CM Punk now. But yeah, when it comes to the person of Phil Brooks, I just absolutely fucking despise. And this is no better, man. Like, yeah, I mean, like, we will see. We will see, but I just feel like it's just more so, even that, I feel like the same stance stands to where he's like back with WWE with a paycheck, even though he's had the sentiment that he's against WWE and fuck WWE, and WWE is the machine. But of course that ship has sailed. I mean, and it's no better here. I mean, just he can lie to he can lie to the IWC as much as he can. But when it comes to a motherfucker like me, definitely can't get past the fact that we can see all through it, and we can see all through the bullshit and the smoke and mirrors, that how much of a fake fuck that CM Punk is, and that's him in Saudi Arabia. So I can definitely see, yeah. I mean, we'll see, bro. Yeah, this whole, I said, just with him and his Saudi Arabia ordeal, it just proves to me that he's just more so of what we all are. I mean, aren't we? How could we be like? Are we really gonna be act fucking surprised at CM Punk now and him being a fucking hypocrite? Are we really?